I'm standing on hallowed ground, the battlefield of Chickamauga, Georgia. In September of 1863, here on these fields and in these woods, 34,000 men shed their blood. Next to the Battle of Gettysburg, it was the second bloodiest battle of the American Civil War. Those who fought and died here had their reasons: to secure the Union, to end slavery, to repel an invading army, to protect their homes and families. But ask what faith they had, and you'd find that the majority by far were Christian. Each side believed they had the hand of providence guiding them. Each believed their cause to be just. That's largely the reason the fighting was so intense. Each man believed in the reason that called him to take up arms. Each man was willing to die for what he believed. But what happens when a nation loses its identity, its soul, its God? How will it survive? Can it even field an army to mount a defense? Whatever the cause, a man has to have one, or else he will stay at home as the enemy invades. And should the enemy's cause be a unifying, motivating power that gives strength to the will and promises of heaven, what hope has the society that sees the enemy of its freedom as a misunderstood traveler? To begin with, I do not hate Muslims. Every human being possesses dignity, and America ought to be a country where a man can worship God according to his conscience without fear of the government. Precisely because I believe those things, we have to tell the truth. We cannot defeat an ideology or a religion if we refuse to understand. Some in the West insist that Islam is not really a religion at all, only a political ideology. Alan West and Michael Flynn, among others, have said as much. I understand the impulse. Islam has always carried political and legal dimensions. It has shaped governments, laws, empires, courts, and warfare for 14 centuries. But to say Islam is therefore not a religion is a profound mistake. Islam is a religion. Muslims worship Allah. They pray, fast, give charity, make pilgrimage, and read their sacred text. They possess centuries of theology, jurisprudence, and tradition. Denying that reality does not make the problem simpler. It makes it harder to see. Political movements can be voted out, repealed, or overthrown. Religion reaches the deepest questions a human being asks, like, who is God? What is truth? What is right and wrong? What does God require of me? What happens after I die? That is why religious conviction can move a man to sacrifice wealth, comfort, reputation, even his life. Taking that seriously is not bigotry. It is the beginning of understanding. You may be unaware that there is no single Muslim political program and no single interpretation of Islam. Lumping all Muslims together is both unjust and lazy. But the opposite error is just as dangerous. We cannot pretend the political dimensions of Islam never existed. However, none of that means every Muslim wants a caliphate or Sharia imposed on America. It does not mean every Muslim is part of a conspiracy. We should reject those claims. But neither should we close our eyes to history or to the movements that openly seek political power in the name of Islam. The real question, though, is what happens when a civilization that no longer believes in its own principles encounters one that does. Consider the Second World War. America faced Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. Both regimes were different, yet both rested on ideas that reached beyond ordinary politics. In Germany, Hitler was elevated far beyond a politician into a quasi-religious, messiah-like figure demanding absolute loyalty. In Japan, under state Shinto, the emperor occupied a sacred position rooted in the belief in the divine ancestry of the imperial line. These were not merely political systems. They demanded ultimate loyalty. They were little gods. When we defeated them, we did not only destroy armies, we dismantled the structures that give those armies their purpose. Hitler died, the Nazi ideology was shattered, Japan surrendered, its militarist government was dismantled, the emperor publicly rejected his divine status. The political gods of those systems proved they could be dethroned. Now consider a movement whose ultimate authority is understood to be God. You cannot bomb him. You cannot occupy his capital. You cannot put him on trial. You cannot force him to surrender, and you cannot kill him. I'm not saying all Muslims are jihadists or that every Islamic movement shares the same ambitions. I am saying something simpler. If a man acts because he believes God has commanded it, killing the political leader who gave the order does not necessarily eliminate the belief that motivated him. You can destroy an army. You can kill terrorist leaders. You can overthrow a regime. You cannot shoot an idea out of a man's heart. That is where the World War II comparison breaks down. Those enemies had political gods that could be dethroned. When Islamic jihad is genuinely religiously motivated, it claims to serve the one true God. You cannot defeat a spiritual claim with physical weapons alone. Physical weapons are for material foes. Spiritual and religious battles require spiritual and religious weapons. In this age, we can no longer trust in physical deterrence alone. This is the part of the conversation America needs to recover. This is the hard discussion that pluralists and secularists despise. We have become extraordinarily good at defending our material interest. Armies, aircraft, intelligence, nuclear weapons, economic power. But material power cannot tell a civilization why it ought to survive. Weapons can protect people who possess conviction. They cannot manufacture conviction in people who have lost it. And that may be our greatest vulnerability. Not the strength of our enemies, but the weakness of our own convictions. For generations, the left has increasingly taught our youth that Western civilization is little more than oppression and prejudice. We've become embarrassed by our history, by patriotism, by national identity, by Christianity, even by the claim that some ideas are better than others. Then we wonder why some people will sacrifice themselves for their beliefs while we grow unwilling even to defend ours. That is not strength or tolerance. It is surrender disguised as sophistication. Every civilization rests on some concept of what is true. of what a human being is, of what is good and evil, of what is worth protecting and dying for. If one side still has answers to those questions while the other has decided there are no answers at all, the imbalance is dangerous. One side has something to die for, the other has only something to lose. Christians have a particular responsibility here. America was never a theocracy and must never force Christianity on its citizens. But we should also stop pretending the American experiment emerged from a vacuum. Ideas about humanity, dignity, moral accountability, the inherent worth of individuals, the limits of political power, and the idea that government itself is subject to a higher moral law were profoundly shaped by Christianity. Those foundations still answer questions modern secularism often struggles to answer. Why is freedom worth defending? Why is human life sacred? Why sacrifice for strangers or for people not yet born? The West must recover conviction. We need to know what we believe and why we believe it. We need the courage to defend what is good and the conviction to know the difference. And we must have the courage to say that some ideas are incompatible with our civilization. If we insist Islam is nothing more than a political ideology, we misunderstand it, along with the ideas that motivate those who would destroy our civilization. You cannot defend a country you no longer believe is worth defending. You cannot defend a civilization you are ashamed to call your own. And you cannot answer religious conviction with nothing more than bureaucracy, surveillance, or military power. The answer begins with the truth. Understand what we believe. Understand what others believe. Examine history without fear. Distinguish peaceful Muslims from violent extremists, ordinary devotion from political Islamism, legitimate religious liberty from movements that seek to abolish the liberty of others. And have the courage to say that some ideas are incompatible with our civilization. I will defend your right to practice your religion. I will also defend my right to reject a political theology that contradicts the foundations of our constitutional order. Those two things are not contradictory. They are the essence of liberty. You're welcome to worship, to build your mosque, to raise your family, to participate in our society. But no religion, no ideology, and no individual stands above the Constitution and the rule of law. This is not hatred. That is a free society defending itself. If we face an ideology that seeks to eradicate Western culture, we need to understand what makes it powerful. For some, it is faith, and faith is powerful. If we have no faith of our own, no common identity, no shared understanding of truth, no answer to why America is worth preserving, then we have created a tremendous vulnerability. Fleshly weapons can destroy a body, a building, an army. They cannot, by themselves, defeat a belief. If the conflict has a spiritual dimension, the West, that includes America and Europe, must stop pretending spirituality is irrelevant. We need the courage to defend not only our borders, but our beliefs, not only our institutions, but the moral foundations beneath them. not only our lives, but the meaning that makes those lives worth defending. Civilizations are built upon beliefs. So the greatest question facing America may not be how many weapons or soldiers or how powerful our economy may be. What do we believe? Because if we don't know what we believe, we don't know what we're defending. And if we don't know what we're defending, eventually we will stop defending it. That is the warning. The danger is not simply that someone else might hate us. The danger is that we might become so uncertain about ourselves that we no longer have the courage to stand for anything. Sometimes love means telling the truth when it is uncomfortable. Sometimes it means defending something precious from those who would destroy it. And sometimes it means having enough courage to say, this is who we are. This is what we believe. This is what we will defend, and this is what we will never surrender. The greatest weapon against a false idea is not simply a bigger army, it is truth. And if we have forgotten the truth ourselves, then the first battle is not against someone else. It is the battle to remember who we are. You cannot defeat a spiritual war with fleshly weapons alone. You cannot shoot an idea out of a man's heart, and you cannot defend a civilization that has forgotten why it is worth defending. So let us recover our courage, our identity, our faith, and our love of country. If we don't, I guarantee you, there are literally millions who will, with loud, unashamed voices, shout, Allah Akbar, as they bury whatever's left of the land of the free and the home of the tolerant. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments. And thank you for sharing this video if you find it of any value. And I hope that you do. God bless. God bless America. See you soon in another video.